Internet King. Miracle Era. Introduction. Don't underestimate the world. Are you joking? Our junior high school students' competition is the world. Which of the following is not world? Class. Buji, Tezuka in the heavenly clothes, white stone in the Bible, and Sanada, who was once awakened in National Day. Don't underestimate us junior high school students in the world. Professional players who come to our junior high school should be considered to have seen the water dispenser. The initial high barrier. The physical gap between them has long been flattened. Our Emperor Guang is the broken wall person in the middle realm of the country. The inner monster. The initiator of the fourth day clothes. The king of different dimensions. This is the story of the princes meeting the miracles, as well as the story of an outsider stirring the wind and rain. It is also a time when a group of young people undergo crazy changes due to mutual stimulation. No system flow, single female lead. The cover has been authorized by the illustrator, Leo. P.S. In this book, you will see that if you are strong, you will collapse, if you are weak, you will collapse, if you win, you will collapse, and if you lose, you will also collapse. If you cannot see both sides being good, it is recommended not to enter. The group number of the book. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, 490.9,450.4840.3. If you're interested, come in and play. Welcome to Communicate and Discuss. Cover from Bilibili illustrator Leo. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, I have been contacted and authorized to indicate the source. 1. D. Guang Middle School. You are listening at novel full.audio. Emperor Guang. This is a big gamble. Standing at the entrance of the crowd, the young man suppressed his excitement and whispered with excitement. His name is Tomoki Shiratsu, and he has been born in this world for 12 years. Don't be fooled by his white hair and youthful appearance, but inside he is a monster with a spiritual age over 30. Reincarnated from another world to this place, he thought he was about to embark on a new life as a social animal. But since he met a friend of the same age named Qiji Zhengshilang and Qingfeng Dahui, when he was young, he felt something was wrong. At first, he thought this was a world of black baskets, but when he heard that Tokyo had youth schools and ice emperors, he felt strange again. Later, at the age of 9, I heard about a newly established high school called D. Guang. He couldn't help but shiver. Is this a black basket or an internet king? Or the so-called basketball prince? But this entanglement was finally resolved in our later interactions with Qiji. When he heard that Qiji and Qingfeng were playing tennis, he was skeptical. Until 6 years of elementary school, he played tennis with Qiji and Qingfeng, and later learned about schools like Muzatang, Shizel, and Lehigh University, which made him feel at ease. Realizing that this was ultimately the world of the Prince of Tennis, it was just a mix of a tennis-loving Qiji and Qingfeng who came in, and he was a bit puzzled. Plus, he had inquired and found out that among elementary school students of the same age at the time, the most famous ones were Yukimura Seishi and Sanada Kenichiro. To be honest, if you really want to play tennis, so he just needs to find a way to join the tennis department at Lehigh University. Not to mention winning 3 consecutive championships, winning 2 consecutive championships is not guaranteed. Then it wasn't until Qiji brought over his high school notice that Bai Jin's heart was half cold at that time. His graduation wish clearly did not mention the newly established school of Emperor Guangleng was blacklisted by Qi Si in some indescribable way. Qixi almost said, "You can only come with me to Emperor Guang." I wanted to have a mixed mentality but was completely dispersed by Qiji. However, who would have told him to play with Qiji from a young age? If he had to suffer, he would have suffered. It can also be considered as the retribution he received for what he did when he was a child. Moreover, in this era according to current school standards, the strongest school in junior high school should be Lehigh University. After all, the original works have won 2 consecutive national championships. Other schools it can only be said that the background board has become numb, and there are not many famous characters. Tezuka. It's really impressive, but the youth academy doesn't let him shine. Trace part. Now I can only say that it's average. These future powerhouses are either not yet growing, or problems with limited environments cannot arise. Plus, the powerful senior students in the 3rd year of junior high have been hiccuping since middle school. Considering the level and situation of the players at Lehigh University, it is understandable that they can win the championship. Is that material from other schools that can win championships? That's not a question of whether it's possible or not, but fundamentally, the probability is slim. Mu Zhiteng. Lion Music. For Heavenly Treasure Temple. Ice Emperor. Are these schools using their heads to challenge the current Lehigh University? The top high school students have all graduated, and for the next 2 years, it will be the time for Yukimura and Tachibana to take the lead in the national competition. If you can't pass Lehigh University, you won't even win the national championship. And at this point, being strong alone is not very promising. What's the use of just being awesome on your own? No matter how impressive you are, you can only win 1 game. Tennis is 5 games. Nanjiro, who was as powerful as the ceiling, also collapsed in tears in the environment where his teammates were too lazy in high school. So, when he was brought into the Emperor's glory by Chizihei, Baijin felt a bit overwhelmed. It's not that he doesn't want to argue, but he really doesn't have that ability. His tennis level with Qiji and Qingfeng is acceptable, but what about his other teammates? Teammate, come and save me. Where can high-level and potential teammates be found? Digging a tomb. Digging for Yakujin. Digging oranges. What are you joking about? Let's not say that they are not in the same area. They are not familiar with you and do not recognize you. Why do they listen to you? Unless other Miracle Age personnel are all here, and like Chiji, they don't go playing basketball but switch careers to playing tennis. Therefore, Baijin Kai believes that if his goal is to become a national champion in tennis, then it is really a gamble. However, it seems that the heavens favored him and even sent him a takeout. Hello, could you please stop blocking the door? A young man with short fiery red hair looked at him fiercely from the front. Are you? Although he had not yet grown up, Baijin was stunned as he looked at the name hanging on the backpack in the other person's hand. The fire god is greater than me is at the current position of Tetsuya Kuriko. What is this unfolding? Is it not just about Chiji and Qingfeng, but all the other miracles really come from Emperor Guang? Do you play tennis? Ha! Are you sick? Why did you suddenly ask this question? No, I just wanted to ask. After all, you look like a foreign student studying abroad. I am indeed from the United States and I also play tennis. Can you please step aside? It's okay. Abandoning the way and looking at the back of the fire god, Baijin showed a meaningless expression. Is it difficult? This is still the appearance of the fire god, and when I think of other miracles that may also occur, Baijin can't hold back any longer. The basketball player next door was dug up to play murder tennis or something. It's just so strange. Okay. The strength of Miracle Era is indeed unique in basketball. Zhaozhuyuan.com. There is some kind of mystical foundation placed there. But if we look at it at the level of the Internet King, it's hard to say. After all, the Tennis King's skill level is more than 1 level stronger than the Black Basket. Taking the eye of the Heavenly Emperor of Chiji as an example, it is normal to be at the same level as the Radiance of Talent. What is the situation of talent rejuvenation? In the back, even a strong hand can easily break through zone. The ability to increase strength, bounce, speed, vision, and reaction to 100%. Is there a perfect balance between perseverance and perfection? And the combination of meticulous refinement and seamless craftsmanship behind it is equivalent to a rotten street, where everyone can hit the nail on the head and compete more with mystical moves or different dimensions. To take a step back, Yukimura's sense of destruction can suppress any miracle. Not to mention the various different dimensional moves mastered by high school students in Net King. Forget it, let's take a closer look. Whispering, Baijin didn't think much. After all, having someone is good, it's better than not being able to do anything. Anyway, they all play tennis, and as long as they work hard, they can still play it through rigorous training. When it comes to tennis, Baijin is not joking. Since he has played tennis, personally speaking, he really doesn't want to lose. I have that ability and talent, so it's unreasonable to lose to other contestants in the same class, even Yukimura and Tezuka. As for what will happen in the upcoming competition, let's take it slow. In junior high school, I used to be a strength background board that was raised for 3 years, and then went to the training camp to regroup. 2. The Miracle of Gathering. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. 7 classes per year. Here. Finding his own classroom, Baijin opened the door and stared for a moment at the slightly quiet room inside. Although there have been many new students gathered in the classroom, they are not yet very familiar with each other, so they all sit in their seats according to the rules, and only a few people they know gather together to chat. But as soon as he walked into his window seat, Baijin saw a very prominent red hair in the front row, and he couldn't help but ask a question mark on his head. Chizi Zhengshilang, damn it. You're really tangled up. He has control over the division of classes and seating what emperor. To be honest, when it comes to Chiji's approach and personality, he feels a lot of pressure. If it's Biaoqi, forget it. Lchizi really feels oppressive. His infamous relationship with Chiji really started from kindergarten. Since seeing Chiji playing tennis, he has also gone to play tennis with him. As a result, Chiji was diagnosed with illness by him in the 3rd grade of elementary school. What disease? Of course it's a personality split and it's still Lchizi's model. As for the reason, it seems that he is too powerful and has made Biaoqi anxious. In a hurry, Chizi split open. What is restoring the original work? Just because his evolution made it difficult for Chiji to grasp, to the extent that Chiji blackened out or something, from the perspective of others, this is also too strange. Qingfeng eats duck eggs every day, and there's nothing urgent about it. However, in the original works of Akashi, there is also anxiety caused by the evolution of miracles and the fear of being left behind, leading to the awakening of the second personality. His appearance directly advanced Chiji's life trajectory. The good news is that Biaoqizi is not always hiding in his inner self, but occasionally showing his head. Unfortunately, Biaoqizi does not know the eye of the Heavenly Emperor, while Lchizi does use the eye of the Heavenly Emperor. Therefore, the level of Biaoqizi and Lchizi is completely different. As mentioned before, if we equate the eye of the Heavenly Emperor with the radiance of talent. At this point in time, only Tezuka has mastered countless trials and tribulations, indicating that Akira's strength is still guaranteed. After some thought, Baijin still launched, peeking. Is there anything on my face? When he was stunned, he was naturally noticed by Chiji. Normally, Biaoqizi did not have the extremely strong sense of oppression like Lchizi. No, I always feel like your and my hair are very prominent in this class. Scratching his head, trying to start a conversation, Baijin awkwardly smiled. Compared to the uniform black-haired students in the classroom, they have a strong presence with their own colors. Indeed, it seems that only you, me, and him are very prominent in this classroom. Chiji glanced at Baijin's dazzling white hair and then spoke up. It's impolite to talk about people behind their backs like this, Chizijin. Just as Baijin was puzzled, a sudden sound came from the air, causing his eyebrows to jump. In the blink of an eye, he opened it again and realized that a delicate boy with blue hair was standing next to him at some point. Haizi Zhiya, wow. What kind of magic is this? Experiencing Haizi's eerie body movements with his own eyes, Baijin was very uncomfortable. He was very confident that there was no one near him or Qiji just now. But if Kuriko doesn't make a sound, he probably won't be able to detect Kuriko at all. Is this already a superpower? Even if it's placed in the online king, disappearing players or something, it's also too scary. He can already induce his gaze now. That's a bit of something. The situation with Blackie just now was indeed a problem with visual guidance, but it seems a bit excessive for him to unlock the skill group without starting to contact it. However, it doesn't seem difficult to accept the situation of Qiji. Hello, my name is Haizi Jia. Qishi Zhengshilang. Baijin Ji Xing. It can be considered that I have had initial contact, so I didn't get caught off guard at the beginning. I made a good start and left a very good impression. Baijin also breathed a sigh of relief. Haizi and Huishan have both appeared, can those remaining guys still be far away? However, it seems that everyone has become a bit different, which makes people feel a bit uneasy. The early division of Qiji and the Eye of the Heavenly Emperor, the sight guidance that Kuriko had mastered in advance, and Qingfeng, whose mind is full of playing basketball, and the God of Fire, who knows not the details what will happen to the remaining green spaces, purple fields, and yellow fields. Maybe these guys will also experience early awakening. From a basic perspective, their talent is not weak at this point in time. It's really making people look forward to it more and more. Does the miracle collide with the princes? That can't be losing. Everyone is already at the starting point of the same era, so there's no reason to complain about anything. The Golden Age can also be considered to have started from here. Lehida Ice Emperor Qingxue He, who is aware of the trend of the times, has the confidence to surpass those people. In this life, compared to his love for tennis, he doesn't think he has lost to anyone. Ding dong. The first day of the course began with a ringing bell. Aha! Damn it! When it was time for lunch break, Baijin suddenly realized something very important. That's club activities. If he remembers correctly, this newly built Diguang Middle School still has various clubs. Basketball, football, athletics, baseball, tennis. Although someone handed him flyers in the early morning, he completely ignored them due to the encounter with the fire god. Thinking of this, he ignored Qiji's gaze and rushed out of the classroom, hurriedly running to the tennis department. Is that right here? It's a completely unfamiliar field, and I don't know what requirements the tennis department of Diguang High School will have. If all the conditions for the basketball version are moved over, it may be a bit painful. Wow! But upon arrival, he found it impossible to open the door of the department and knocked on it, but there was no response inside. What is this? In theory, on the first day of enrollment for new students, not to mention that the staff is fully booked, is it not as deserted as before? With such doubts in mind, Baijin strolled towards the crowded area, trying to gather some information. Is it really fake? Does anyone else want to join the tennis department? Isn't that a club that's about to be abolished? I heard that my grades have been very poor over the years, and I couldn't even achieve good results in major competitions. Many people have left the club, and the rest of those guys have started not training recently. The school is a bit headache. If you ask me, don't choose to join the tennis department when going to other clubs, it's hard work and not pleasing. And the attitude of those guys in the tennis department is too problematic, and they don't necessarily have a good environment to enter. What a shame. With those incompetent guys controlling the tennis department, the new students who want to play tennis are really pitiful. 3. The Miracle of Gathering. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, grass. What subtle script is it? Relying on the window sill of the corridor to listen to the conversation of the seniors, Baijin could not help but roast. Some people in the tennis department quit because they couldn't get good results after losing, and the rest of the team was not bad, but it was okay. Listen to me, it's better to go to the basketball department. The members there are all very impressive, and their grades are also good. They are the national champions every year. And the quality of the cheerleading team is very good. Really. The senior below also focuses on recounting the history of the school, while also looking nostalgic. The new students who received flyers next to them immediately began to question with reverence. Wait a minute. Suddenly, a boy with dark skin walked past them, seemingly disdainful, followed by a young pink-haired girl chasing after him. Isn't that little Peach and Qingfeng? Indeed, they are also in this school. That vivid combination instantly made Bai Jin see through their identities. Qingfeng Dahui and Tao Jing Wei, sure enough, everyone has arrived, including someone's current and the seventh miracle. Hey, what should I consider doing? Although it is known that there are some gangster seniors in the tennis department now, in Bai Jin's opinion, that is not a problem. As long as the combination of miracles is pulled in, it is more than enough to form a team with a solid foundation. But the problem is, how do we start this? Forget it, it's better to ask directly after much thought. Backed against the windowsill, looking out at the sky with his head down, Bai Jin didn't want to be crooked anymore. This may be the most direct way. Afternoon, Qiji, have you considered going to the tennis department? After finishing the class, tidying up the tables and chairs, Bai Jin looked at Qiji sitting in front of him before he even got up and asked directly. Tennis department. I happen to want to go and see it, I haven't had much chance before. Unexpectedly, Qiji turned around and answered with a gentle attitude, without refusing, while taking out a key from his pocket. This guy. At first glance, it was clear that this was the key to the tennis department, and Bai Jin could only sigh that Akashi was already prepared. Even if he didn't say anything today, Akashi would probably go alone to the tennis department to see the situation. What would he do? However, Akashi should also be aware of the tennis department's situation, so Shiratsu is curious about how he will face the upcoming bad words. Heizi, will you also go? Although no figure of Heizi was found in the classroom, Bai Jin believed that he must be nearby. How did Bai Jin know that I also play tennis? Intuition. This reason is not at all reliable. When the three of them came together again to the tennis department, the scene was unimaginably bleak. Apart from neatly arranged props and activity rooms, there were no signs of people, and even a lot of dust was accumulated on the tabletop. I heard that after the previous generation's seniors graduated, the rest of them had no intention of practicing football. Picking up a tennis ball that fell from the ground, Qiji put it into the frame and opened his mouth. But if you really want to play tennis, shouldn't you just give up like this? Heizi couldn't fully understand this behavior. If he didn't want to play tennis, why would he join the tennis department? The seniors' affairs are not important either, mainly because the tennis department is completely empty now. To revive, at least the minimum number of people needs to be met. If there is no coach, no minister, and no people, then what kind of club is that? Bai Jin also did not include the remaining seniors in the tennis department. In his opinion, these guys have all chosen to mess up, so they have no right to stay and occupy positions that are disgusting. It seems that there are still 6 people left in the tennis department, all of whom are seniors from 3rd grade. They should not have left the school gate at this time. Akira picked up a tennis ball and tennis racket with some guidance, and also handed a pair to Shiratsu. Are you here? Bai Jin took the racket and tennis ball, feeling a bad premonition in his heart. He looked at Qi Si, who had suddenly changed his momentum, and felt a headache. It's a simple matter, we won and they all withdrew. What if they don't agree? They don't have the right to choose. I have already given my seniors a very dignified way of going, and no one can disobey me. As expected, there was no sign of respect, only the cruel and ruthless command words. Heizi's expression was momentarily stunned by the change in Qiji's expression. Well, it's a bit excessive, but I have to say that I really like this straightforward solution. Although Akashi's approach may seem too rebellious to others, he did not reject the proposal. In his opinion, he screened all those thugs and then pushed in the miracles. In the next 3 years, not only will he dominate the country, but at least he will also be a national-level team. He couldn't bear the treatment that required him and the youth academy to pick up the ball for a year to shine. Well, and there are also many talented students among the new students in this school. Even without relying on our seniors, we can revitalize the glory of Emperor Guang's tennis department. Bai Jin's confident words made Heise involuntarily stare at him, making him feel a bit uneasy. What? What's going on? What an inspiring speech. Kuriko responded coldly to this, and in his view, facing the tennis department that has not shown any signs of reconstruction, Shiratsu's ability to take action with such a cheerful attitude is truly a good mentality. You should know that when he came here this morning to look through the window, his mood was very low. After all, he doesn't want to have never even experienced tennis in the middle school for 3 years. Although he is not a very strong singles player himself, he also desires to go to the field and enjoy playing against opponents. Let's go, we need to retrieve the tennis department from our predecessor's hands first. After inspecting the area, it was found that there was no missing equipment. Chiji turned his head and said to Bai Jin and Heise. Okay. The next day, have you heard about it? What's going on? The remaining 3-year students in the tennis department seem to have been humiliated by 2 freshmen on the tennis court yesterday, and even forced to leave the department. Is there such a thing? It's really funny, I can't even beat first-grade students. No wonder they haven't been able to even enter the Kanto Grand Prix over the years. It can be imagined that those guys haven't received proper training all day long. But if they retire, the number of people in the tennis club won't be enough to register for the next regional tournament, right? Who knew? I heard that the current head of the tennis department is Akashi Masatoro from Class 7, Grade 1. Is it the one who appears to have a very gentle personality? In less than a day, the news of the tennis department's generational change spread and attracted considerable attention. At this time, the parties involved were taking advantage of the chaos to recruit troops and buy horses. Ha! Tennis. Isn't the tennis department of this school going to be abolished because of the seniors' reckless behavior? The fire god looked at the white hair in front of me with a puzzled expression and asked in response. He had a slight impression of this person, the strange guy who was blocking the school gate yesterday. That's why I came out to find someone to rebuild the tennis department. Don't you want to play? I see, was it you who brought up the tennis department incident yesterday at ziyuan.com? Are you Masashiro Akishi? My name is Shirakazu Jishing. Bai Jin did feel that the fire god's brain may not be very effective. Low. Long-winded. I can join, but the condition is to have a fight with me first, and I want to see if you're strong. Upon hearing this, the fire god shouted loudly to conceal his embarrassment of admitting the wrong person, and then said in a low voice. If that's your request, then there's no problem. Bai Jin did not refuse, and he also knew what the fire god was thinking. After all, tennis is not a personal sport, and it is meaningless to be strong alone, so the value of teammates is very important. He wants to observe Bai Jin's level through this, which will affect his impression of the guys in the newly established tennis department. If it's a group of people who have played house and house, isn't it a waste of time for them to go? He came here from the United States, not for tourism. It's really bad. It's better to consider transferring schools. See you in the tennis department with your own racket in 10 minutes. No problem. Turning his head to go to the classroom to get his tennis racket, Bai Jin was also considering how to deal with the fire god. He looks very impressive. Blackie, who remained silent and unnoticed on the side, couldn't help but speak out. Although the fire god did not show any special performance, judging from the aura just now, it was like a young tiger that made people tremble. Heise felt this atmosphere for the first time. He doesn't look like it, but he really has 2 brushes. However, he won't be my opponent because I have more brushes than him. 4. Lvjian, Ziyuan, Qingfeng. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push. The tennis court at Guang High School has once again opened up the enclosed space, ushering in a moment of being used by people. One set determines the winner. Qiji sat on the referee's chair, staring at the personnel on both sides who were preparing to take action and spoke. Blackie stood outside the stadium, staring like a phantom tank. You serve first. Lowering his body, holding the racket in both hands, Bilibili looked at the fire god and shouted. TSK. So confident. I hope you don't regret it. The fire god frowned and felt a bit unhappy, but he still took out the ball from his pocket. I couldn't sense any terrifying aura from the guy in front of me, but if it were weak, it didn't seem like it. The fire god decided to play a few rounds first to see. The ball was thrown high, and he tilted his body before hitting the tennis ball with a loud bang. Whoosh! The tennis ball shuttled through the air, crossed the net, and fell straight towards the bottom line of Bilibili's left foot. Speed is not difficult to accept, but what about strength? The fire god, who is only in his first year of junior high school, seems to have not fully realized his potential. Therefore, Bilibili is not very afraid, but has been following the trajectory of the ball in advance. As the ball reaches the landing point, he has already stood in a corner position, raised his racket and swung it over. The speed of the ball was not very fast, but when the racket touched the tennis ball, Bilibili still felt a surge of momentum. The tennis ball was played back, but Bilibili was not careless at all. The fire god must not have exerted all his strength yet. He doesn't think that taking this ball can ignore the threat of the fire god's strength. Play some tricks. The returning ball happened to be on the other corner line of the fire god, and he had to rush over and hit it back in displeasure. Tisk. But when the fire god first hit the ball and looked back, he found that Bilibili was already standing in front of the net, seemingly anticipating that the path he was returning was already waiting. Pop. This time, Bilibili quickly raised his hand and struck the ball in the opposite direction of the fire god. From an average person's perspective, this kind of ball definitely has no chance of catching up. Don't underestimate people. But unexpectedly, the fire god had no intention of giving up and took a big step forward to chase after him. 15.0 Unfortunately, he was slightly behind in speed and his racket scraped against the skin, but he was unable to hit a counterattack. Can that kind of ball almost catch up? Heisey looked at the actions of the fire god outside the field and couldn't help but feel a bit envious. If it were for him, he probably wouldn't have run half the way, would he? The speed is pretty good, but he still has extra strength. Is it a young tiger? Qiji calmly watched the ball and made an evaluation, also knowing what type of player the fire god is. I won't let you do it again this time. Thinking of the lost ball, the fire god felt a bit regretful, then reached out and shouted, while serving again. Bang! But compared to the last time, this time when Bilibili received the ball, he felt a heavy feeling. Sure. Although everyone is still a vegetable chicken, there is still inevitably a gap. Holding the racket with one hand, he hit the ball back again, but the fire god effortlessly whipped it back. Receiving the ball again, there is still no decrease in strength. Bang! Pop! The confrontation between the balls lasted for a very long time, but Bilibili was not so easy to hit the ball left and right again, causing the fire god to fall into a physical trap. If it were a normal player, it would be impossible to achieve the strength of multiple single-handed counterattacks. Because it's a bit difficult to just hit back and adjust the angle, to be honest, it's too tiring for me. Drink. Ha. I don't know how many balls were returned, but Bilibili didn't notice any weakening of the power of the fire god. 2.0 Damn it. It looks like a numerical monster. Unfortunately. Observing this confrontation, Lvjian did not see any other outstanding features except for the abundant explosive power and power of the fire god. Describing it as a so-called whiteboard monster, in one sentence. A seemingly beautiful foundation can completely crush weaker players. But unfortunately Lvjian grew up fighting against Qiji and Qingfeng from a young age, and his foundation is not bad. It's just a pipe dream to rely on his basic physical fitness to crush him. Not to mention that the current fire god still has fatal weaknesses. Squeak, squeak. 15.0 In that moment, lightning suddenly appeared, and birds were singing in his ears. Qiji widened his eyes and looked at the fleeting tennis manifesto. So. What is it? Huang was completely stunned. He had just seen the ball on Lvjian's field, but suddenly a piercing bird cry came from his ear, and the tennis ball was already lying on his field. I can't understand. Blackie stared intently at the field. Just now, he only saw a glimmer of electricity, and what happened was completely unclear. A super-fast return shot. Preliminary assessment shows that the ball's speed has exceeded at least 200 kilometers. Before Blackie could clear his mind, a green-haired boy wearing glasses and another tall purple-haired boy walked over from behind. Ziyuan, are you sure you can catch that ball? Are you joking? Why did I bother to catch that kind of ball? It doesn't seem like I can keep using it at first glance. Just in time for the snack, the tall boy named Ziyuan reluctantly replied. When he is foolish and encounters such a ball, he struggles to stare at it with his eyes and drives his body to run over and catch it. Isn't that tiring? The opponent cannot always maintain such a return shot. He would rather wait for the opponent to be unwilling or unable to play before slowly chasing points. Zhaozhuyuan.com Hello everyone. Although he didn't know the identities of these two people yet, Heisey still greeted them politely. Are you also a member of the tennis department? I heard that there are 3 overestimated 1-year players in the tennis department who are revitalizing the club. It looks like it's just a few of you. Is that fire god your new target? Lvjian, you came over to watch it after school when you heard that Huang was going to play tennis with someone else. You are particularly concerned about the news from the tennis department. Why do you have to pretend to be so dragging? Shut up. Lvjian pushed his glasses on the bridge of his nose and glanced at Qiji on the referee's bench, then at Huang and Lvjian in the game. Finally, he spoke seriously to Kuriko. Unfortunately, his serious attitude was not maintained for long before being mercilessly exposed by Ziyuan. A student in the same class as the fire god lord. Now Kuriko finally understood. The two people in front of him seemed to have some understanding of tennis, and they were in the same class as fire god. Ah! Ada! It's already after school, why are you still hiding here? On the rooftop of the school, Tao Jing looked angrily at Qingfeng, who was sitting cross-legged and looking down, and complained with a bulging face. Hey! Unfortunately, Qingfeng seemed to have completely ignored it and looked down at the lower part with a lifeless expression. May, look down. That guy Lvjian is playing that kind of ball again. Xiao Bai. It seems that the area below is the tennis department's area, right? Approaching the edge, Tao Jing had not yet understood the abnormality of Qingfeng and looked down. Squeak, squeak. Hey! 5. Is there a missing person? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, 6.0, Lvjian wins. Until the end of the game, the fire god was unable to return the high-speed return ball. Damn it. Almost. Just almost. His forehead was covered in sweat beads, and he was panting fiercely. Although being hit 6.0 by someone was very angry, what really mattered to him was the inexplicable return ball. After trying again and again, he always felt like he was about to adapt. But by the time it reacted, the game had already ended. This is your current weakness. Fire God. Strong physical fitness may seem unbreakable, but ultimately there are shortcomings. That's the difference in ball skills. The fire god does not possess special abilities like Qiji, who awakened the eye of the heavenly emperor, or Kuriko and Qingfeng, who unlocked the eye of sight induction. To put it simply, he is now a whiteboard monster with no special features. Of course, he can rely on his physical foundation to crush others, but once the opponent has a special ball skill, he can't even counterattack, and he instantly becomes a paper tiger. Unfortunately, Baijin really had the ability to grasp his moves. Qianyao, that's right, because the type of ball skills is basically the same as the A-level ninjutsu played by Sasuke Hokage. Shiratsu named it Chihiro. Although this thing can only be used for counterattacks, the effect is very obvious. One of them is the extraordinary fast. What is the specific speed? Baijin has not tested it yet, but currently it definitely exceeds the level that normal middle school students cannot touch. He is so certain because he finds it difficult to capture the trajectory of the ball himself. He can only aim at the spot he wants to hit before swinging, and he can't see clearly when the ball flies out, lands, and bounces. Although using Qianyao can be burdensome and turn him into a Tezuka, playing around 20 goals in a game is not a problem. You can tell from watching Huashen play Qianyao 6.0 with him, and later he played almost the entire game directly. What does it mean to eat all the fresh food in one move? However, it seemed that his eyes could barely catch it in the last few attempts. But there were also areas that caught Baijin's attention during this period, as the fire god went from being a stunned god at first to becoming slightly capable of capturing the trajectory of the ball later on. This represents that he is gradually adapting to the speed of Qianyao in order to launch a counterattack. But in fact, he may still be a bit short now, at least in terms of insight. He hasn't reacted so quickly. Your 1,000 birds are still so sharp. Qiji jumped off the referee's chair and asked as he looked at Baijin. But you'd better not exceed the limit. Qiji just looked at Baijin and ordered in a deep voice, his gaze fixed on Baijin's slightly red elbows and wrists. Hello. But at this moment, a shout came over, and Qiji and Shirakazu turned their heads to look at the source of the sound. I will come again tomorrow. You wait for me. The fiery red aura enveloped his whole body, as if a substantial aura filled him with a sense of oppression. The fire god stared fixedly at Baijin and said in an unfriendly tone. After speaking, he walked out of the venue. Hey, you see, isn't this just recruiting people? Speaking to Qi like this, Baijin wiped the sweat off his forehead and said with ease. It looks like this. Qi turned his head to look at Heizi's location and whispered after realizing that the green-purple he had just watched had disappeared. Ha! Who? Ha! Out of breath, he ran back to the classroom, packing his backpack. Just as he was about to pick it up and leave, the fire god ran into two familiar guys in the hallway. It looks like he was beaten very badly, fire god. As if pretending to be a chance encounter after school, Green Space spoke with a ragdoll in his hand that didn't match his style, and next to him stood Ziyuan, who remained silent. Humph, don't talk too much. I'm going to join the team tomorrow, and that serve will definitely hit it back. I didn't care why Green Space and Purple Plains were still here at this time, said the fire god with a fierce voice. Then, he picked up his backpack and walked towards the school gate. Green boy, are you planning to go too? If you say you're not interested, it's definitely fake. I also want to go and see, but I didn't expect there to be someone like this in my age group. Puff, but I don't really want to go. Then you may have fewer snacks in the future. Then I'll go. Pop. Bang. Hey. Ha. At the corner of the street, Tao Jing looked at Qingfeng, who was constantly playing tennis with the wall solo, and was somewhat surprised. Although he had a lack of interest before, he immediately changed after watching that game. What else did you say so firmly, go to the tennis department tomorrow? So Bai Jin and Qi Si are also at this school. The tennis ball kept bouncing back against the wall, but Qingfeng's mind was full of the scene he saw today. The flickering light in his eyes was not unfamiliar to him. I used to see him frequently when he was fighting against Bai Jin in elementary school, but unfortunately, he only managed to crack it a few times. He is increasingly looking forward to tomorrow's arrival. New students with green and purple hair. In the same class as Fire God. Do they both have knowledge about tennis? On the way home, Qiji, Haizi, and Bai Jin walked together. Upon hearing Haizi's description, Bai Jin seemed to know who was there. Santaro Green and Dun Ziyuan. My match with the Fire God today seems to have attracted them. I hope they can report on it themselves, instead of arrogantly coming to us to find them. Qingfeng should be no problem. Find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com and Huang Se. You have to come knocking on them one by one. Your match with the Fire God today achieved the desired effect. I believe it can attract many people to come over. Akashi clearly considered the situation of the department members, but he was not too worried. He would rather have fewer staff than have some rotten fish and stinky shrimp mixed in. After all, it is the tennis department he wants to rebuild, and there is no room for any sand. The guy who gave up tennis after playing the game, like before, is still rolling as far as possible. I didn't expect Bai Jinjun to still hide that kind of skill. It's really impressive. Haizi was obviously recalling the scene he saw today. He spoke seriously. I don't know if he has a chance to achieve that level with his talent. A return ball beyond visual observation. Don't worry, this is just when. I also worked hard for a long time to finally get a few brushes. Watching Haizi lower his head and ponder, Bai Jin smiled bitterly and said straightforwardly. Just feeding the Fire God duck eggs is not a big deal. After all, the Fire God is not considered a powerful player at the moment. The strongest first-year student today is highly likely to be Takaraki Tezuka, who opened the door. Unfortunately, he was constrained by the problem rules left by the youth academy and could not see the light. Therefore, Bai Jin is not very worried yet, coupled with the fact that they haven't gathered all the staff here, and there is no one who has the leisure to observe people from other schools. Speaking of Chizi, how long is the time given by the school? Within 1 month before the start of the regional competition. That seems like there's enough time. As he chatted, Bai Jin felt like he had forgotten something. 6 different fields. You are listening at novel full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, When they arrived at school early in the morning, Bai Jin and Haizi found that the tennis court was already being used. Drink. Ha. The bright red hair color exposed the owner's identity, while on the other side was a weak and energetic child who seemed to have not woken up to catch the ball. Huishindewa and Ziyuan done. Moreover, there is not only one pair, but also another round of confrontation at the nearby number 2 stadium. Not bad, The boy with dark skin was running and swinging his racket to hit the ball, while the boy with green hair and glasses was prepared to intercept and hit it back. Qingfeng Daihui and Lvjian Zentaro, very impressive. Watching the 4 of them fight, although Haizi didn't know why these people would come here early in the morning to fight, he still sighed. Hey! Come in quickly, let's continue. Today, I must break your ball. Seemingly sensing the presence of Bai Jin, the Fire God suddenly turned his head and shouted at him. This action also caused Ziyuan, Lvjian, and Qingfeng to stop their movements and shift their attention away. Really? It was only yesterday that I barely adapted to Qin Yao's speed with my eyes. It's not that Bai Jin looks down on the Fire God, but that the Fire God really doesn't have the ability to completely crack Qin Yao now. Although he may be able to adapt to the speed of his eyes, whether his body can keep up is another question. Plus, it's impossible for the eyes to maintain that highly focused gaze throughout the entire process. In summary, the Fire God, a whiteboard monster, may have a chance to grow for a while, but it is definitely not possible now. Don't talk too much, just give it a try and you'll know. But Huang said he is serious about this. Although he may not be able to do it now, it does not mean he cannot do it in the future. If he keeps dealing with such fast return shots, he will definitely become stronger earlier. Before that, should you go and report to Qiji? In theory, he is currently the head of the tennis department, and if you use the tennis court without permission, according to school rules, you will be punished. Don't forget, you haven't submitted your application to the department yet. I walked aside and did some exercise, but Bilibili had no intention of playing. As he said, most of the miracles nowadays are in their early stages, with different skill groups like Haizi, Qiji, and Qingfeng that come with unlocking capabilities. As the competition increases and they grow older, they will gradually become outrageous. From yesterday's match with the Fire God, it can be seen that there is indeed a gap in the starting point for everyone. At least if he doesn't hit back seriously, his racket may be knocked away by the Fire God. Of course, using ball skills is another matter. He has not yet played against players such as Yukimura, Makita, and Tezuka, and it is difficult for him to judge the extent of the gap between the two sides. What is needed now is to gather all the people together, then carry out team training, and at the same time find opportunities to arrange exchange matches in case of emergencies. The arrival of green space and purple planes was indeed a surprise, while Qingfeng was unexpected. To be honest, the strength of Ziyuan is only known by his age-incompatible physique. At first glance, he appears to be a defensive expert, although his personality may not be as proactive in playing. And on the side green space, white space is not easy to evaluate. After all, tennis doesn't have any three-pointers or full-court shots from this point of view. The green space has really been cut into the sewer with a single blow. It can be seen from this that he would be persecuted if he played tennis. I have seen those who have gone from weak to strong, but I haven't seen those who have gone from strong to weak yet. I really didn't succeed in my apprenticeship, and I was first cut and not reinforced yet. The dog planner stopped playing games at first glance. From this perspective, green space may be considered the bottom of miracles. As for Huang Se, to be honest, I haven't seen anyone with him since the start of school. That kind of thing doesn't matter, we'll talk about it after lunch break. I have to write that kind of thing, it's so troublesome. So you guys are too lazy. I was already prepared. Coincidentally, my application for joining the ministry has already been written for me by May. Of course, people are different from each other. Compared to the confusion of Huang and Ziyuan, Lvjian and Qingfeng sneered in unison. Green boy, help me write a copy too. After realizing it later, Ziyuan immediately turned his head and looked at the soft green space shouting. Why would a girl help you write something like this? The fire god has no understanding of Qingfeng's treatment. What is this? It seems that today is very lively. Immediately after, Qiji walked out from behind Haizi with a tennis bag on his back, looking at the few people in front of him and softly saying. As the deputy minister, shouldn't you lead them through morning exercises? Immediately, he turned his head to look at Bilibili, who was preparing for the warm-up, and suddenly spoke up. I don't mind if you're the minister, but why would the deputy minister fall on me? Upon hearing Qiji's words, Bilibili was feeling unwell. He stared at Qiji with a stiff expression, wanting to know the reason. Who doesn't know that the head and deputy head of the tennis department do the most work? There are many arrangements to make when there is something to do, and various things to consider in the tennis department. Besides, shouldn't green room be more suitable for this kind of thing? Wait a minute. Although we met yesterday, you are Qizhi Zhengshilang. Compared to those things, the fire god is more concerned about the existence of Qiji. Although I saw Qiji as a referee after school yesterday, to be honest, he really didn't pay attention to Qiji's situation. He only knew that Bilibili and this person, along with another strange new student, were in the same class, both of whom played tennis. He also knew that there was a person named Akashi Masahiro, but he didn't know who they were. But this person is actually the head of the tennis department. That is the rumored leader in the following gram. You seem to have a lot of problems, but before that, I still need to cherish this rare training time this morning. As he moved his lower body with Heizi, Chishi suddenly became cold and his overall aura changed. Dot. 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 His heterochromatic pupils stared at the few people ahead, bringing an unimaginable sense of oppression to the Ziyuan website www.zhaoziyuan.com. At that moment, the fire god and Qingfeng could even feel an instinctive tremble, and the young tiger and leopard emitted a warning roar. Even green space and purple yuan felt their breathing heavy for a moment. Heizi and Baijin can also intuitively feel the cold sensation that stimulates the skin. Tisk, as always, a strong sense of oppression. Compared to the ignorance of others, Baijin understands what the situation is. The glass red that opened the eye of the heavenly emperor has appeared. And compared to before, the momentum is even stronger. Alright, don't waste any time. I'll submit your application for joining the department later. Now, let's do some morning exercises first. But then, the oppression disappeared and was replaced by a soft sound, with a smile on Chiji's face as if nothing had happened before. This guy. It's much scarier than Green Boy, hey. Chizzy. June. What club are you going to see today? I also played baseball yesterday and it didn't feel like it was too difficult. Wearing a school uniform, Ryota Huang walked on campus with a lack of interest, looking around. Although he really wants to join a club, he doesn't want to be too bored either. It's simply boring to learn something that's easy to learn. I heard that the basketball department of this school is very impressive. Let's take a look today. After thinking about the situation on campus, Ryota Huang murmured while holding the back of her head in both hands. 7. Huang Se Liang Tai. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, the time of the day always passes very quickly, especially when there is something to do. For those fulfilling students, going to and from school is like having a meal. Classmate, are you really not considering joining the basketball department? Based on your performance, it is highly likely that you will become a regular in the first grade. The manager of the basketball department looked at the handsome Huang Haixin in front of him and said in an expectant tone. This new student named Ryota Huang is clearly new to basketball, but just looking at him on the sidelines, it seems like he has learned the skills of those seniors and can reproduce them. She had never seen such a powerful person before, truly a genius. Sorry, I'm tired of playing. Although the basketball team has the strength to become a national champion, to be honest, Huang Se is not very interested. He can easily imitate the movements of those people. Although there are still some differences in speed, strength, and body flexibility, they are only performances where the physical fitness has not yet reached the standard. Once he grows up, those difficult movements are as simple as breathing. Therefore, Huang Se does not intend to waste time here in the basketball department. After all, there will always be a day when he is not interested, so it is better to leave early. Wait. There was no infatuation at all, so Huang Se left the basketball department without any hesitation in persuading others. Wow. After washing his slightly sweaty body in the sink, Huang Se's eyes were filled with boredom. Isn't there any eye-catching exercise? Wiping the water droplets with a towel, Huang Se sighed. Due to his talent, he learned everything very quickly, especially being extremely good at imitating others. So he wanted to pursue some difficult challenges a long time ago, but so far he hasn't encountered any decent sports. By the way, do you know? I heard the tennis department has been rebuilt. I know, it seems like the seniors in third grade were forced to leave the department, and the new freshmen reorganized the tennis department. It's really funny to say, there are all freshmen inside. Two students passed by in the corridor, and Huang Se listened quietly to their conversation without any waves. Tennis. It seems like I haven't played it before. But the sport of waving the racket and chasing the ball shouldn't have much difficulty, just like table tennis. Huang Se realized that he had never played tennis before, but it didn't seem much different from table tennis in his impression. With a dull attitude, Huang Se prepared to go to the classroom to pack his backpack and leave. Class 9 per year. This is the classroom where he is located. Remember, there seems to be a classmate named Qingfeng in the class who is also playing tennis. Looking out the window, if Huang Se remembers correctly, it seems that he can directly see the tennis court behind the teaching building from this second-floor classroom. And there is also a strange person in their class who is passionate about playing tennis. Picking up his backpack, flipping over his shoulder and carrying it with his back, Huang Se approached the window and looked towards the position of the tennis court. Whoosh! Pop! So fast! And that action! Huang Se immediately recognized Qingfeng playing on the tennis court and was surprised by his performance. In his sight, Qingfeng was hitting back in a completely irregular position, but even with that awkward posture, he could still easily return the ball to the opponent's field. But this bizarre movement of running makes it hard to believe it would be a rhythmic movement. It looks a bit interesting. Rare, Huang Se was a bit mesmerized by it. Just as he witnessed by mouth flapping, an incredible thing happened. Squeak, squeak. Bang. The backpack hit the ground, and Huang Se showed an incomprehensible expression. What happened? He propped his hands excitedly on the windowsill, watching the ball on the tennis court fall into shock with his eyes wide open. At that moment, the white hair swung its racket and the tennis ball emitted a piercing bird song, as if many birds were singing together. What's even more astonishing is that Huang Se seemed to see a blue electric light. This is tennis. However, to his surprise, although Qingfeng did not receive this fantastic return ball this time, he touched it the next time. Squeak, squeak. Is that over there? Faced with the approaching Qianyao again, Qingfeng quickly turned around and ran, extending his racket. Pop. But unfortunately, the scratches exposed on the top of the racket express a tiny difference in distance. Hey, one more ball, by Jean. Are you a monster? What have you been playing with these days without relying on your eyes, purely on your senses? You're not even human anymore, have you evolved into a wild animal? Hurry up. Hurry up. Listening to the conversation between Qingfeng and Bai Mao, Huang Se's arms began to tremble, and the fingers placed on the windowsill unconsciously began to gather and exert force. Oh no. I can't stop shaking a bit. Isn't this there? It was completely an excessive expression of excitement, and Huang Se couldn't control the shaking all over his body. Baseball, basketball. Swimming. Athletics. Table tennis. Badminton. Nothing can make Huang Se feel so shocked and excited. That white-haired swing hitting the ball was beyond Huang Se's imagination. Ziyuan.com. A flash of lightning. He seemed to be able to describe it this way: in the blink of an eye, the ball had already fallen onto the opponent's field. He can't even catch the trajectory of the ball with his eyes working hard. Not to mention receiving the ball, he tried to imitate the opponent's ordinary swing movements, but this time he couldn't feel any sense of learning. As a result, he felt like he had been injected with hormones, and his whole body became hot-blooded. Finally found it. A sport that can keep me going. His mouth couldn't help but crack, his eyes wide open, and Huang Se finally made up his mind. I want to play tennis. Thinking of this, Huang Se was not in a hurry to leave the school. Instead, he stood on the second floor observing the match between Bai Mao and Qingfeng until it was over, and finally left the classroom with endless desire. On the way home, he specifically walked into the bookstore and selected a book titled Introduction to Tennis Fundamentals. He had never been exposed to tennis before, and although he had also played table tennis, its nature was completely different. Therefore, it is necessary to understand the rules, basic gestures, and grip methods. Imitation also requires the most basic foundation. Just drawing cats from tigers is not enough. I still need to get a whole tennis racket. Okay. Wait down the shopping street and go to the tennis department tomorrow. Feeling a bit thirsty, Huang Se couldn't wait to run towards the shopping street. Tomorrow is really exciting. Never before has Huang Se been so eager for tomorrow's arrival. So, amidst excitement, he spent a sleepless night in bed, but this is another story. 8. Gathering together. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Ads by Google equals window. Ads by Google. Push, are you joining the tennis department? Chishi looked at the yellow-haired boy with black circles under his eyes and couldn't sleep well, and exclaimed in surprise. Yes. Placing the application for admission in front of Akashi, Huang Se responded without hesitation. He was so excited about tennis that he couldn't fall asleep all night yesterday. Sitting in the department, Qiji did not agree immediately. Since the arrival of Lvjian, Ziyuan, and Qingfeng, there have been 7 people in the tennis department. If we don't count the substitutes, we have already preliminarily met the conditions for the game. 2 pairs of doubles and 3 singles. As for whether more personnel are needed to come to the tennis department in the future, Akira is not very concerned. In his opinion, only special talents are qualified to enter the tennis department. This is his thoughts after seeing by Jin, Heizi, Huishan, Qingfeng, Ziyuan, and Lvjian. If you follow a group of water dispensers who can only be cheerleaders, why not? He had already rejected many ordinary students who tried to come to the tennis department and some senior students who tried to fish in troubled waters and put on airs. Before the tennis department was rebuilt, this group of people would only treat it as a joke. Once the tennis department had hoped for reconstruction, they shamelessly approached and wanted to find a spot to take a look. Rather than wasting words with that kind of person, it's better to reject them from the beginning. Have you played tennis before? I haven't played before. Qiji's sudden questioning almost silenced Huang Se. But I can definitely learn quickly. What I am best at is imitation. Realizing that he seemed to be an outsider in zero basic tennis, Huang Se spoke up in an attempt to gain a good impression. He knew that the small man with red hair in front of him was the head of the tennis department, and he dared not neglect him. Is that so? Follow me. After a moment of silence, Qiji stared at Huang Se's anxious expression as if he had thought of something and spoke up, then got up and walked towards the door. Has it been approved? Taking a temporary breath of relief, Huang Se quickly followed over. Just taking a detour for a while, Huang Se noticed that Qiji had brought him to the tennis court. Heizi, your opponent is here. Just as Bai Jin, Qingfeng, Huishan, Lvjian, Ziyuan, and Heizi were resting, they all turned their attention to Huang Se when they heard Akji's words. Oh. Are you? I'm in the same class as you. Ryota Huang. Qingfeng sat on the ground and suddenly saw Huang Se greeting him. He frowned and became puzzled. Until Huang Se spoke up to explain, Qingfeng vaguely remembered that there seemed to be such a person in his class. New here. Is he the opponent of Blackie? Compared to the silence of Shiratsu and Green, the fire god and purple plains looked at Huang Se with strange eyes. What's wrong? It's a bit strange to be watched by others, and Huang Se didn't figure out why for a while. A lot of guidance. Wow. Suddenly, a figure appeared in front of him, and Huang Se was so frightened that he fell to the ground. He breathed a sigh of relief only after confirming that he had not encountered a ghost. With lingering palpitations, he patted his chest and put away his inner shock before standing up from the ground as if nothing had happened. What's going on with this person? Then both sides walked into the field and began the game. Pop. Whoosh. Hey. Ha. Is that guy imitating our previous actions? I just said it feels a bit familiar. Although not very standard, it's barely decent, but the strength and speed are completely different. Upon hearing the conversation between Qingfeng, Lvjian, and others, Baijin stared at Huang Se for a while and couldn't help but feel a little surprised. In his opinion, Huang Se is simply an alternative. Although his movements may seem immature now, Huang Se's every move is filled with a certain realm. It may also be true that Huang Se was the weakest or perhaps the strongest among miracles. His imitation talent is actually equivalent to the selfless realm. What does this represent? This means that Huang Se has maintained a buff of selflessness in his daily life. But it will not cause a problem of rapid physical exhaustion. You should know that currently there are only 3 middle school students who can use the selfless realm. They are Yukimura Seishi, Makita Kenichiro, and Tezuka Guang. The first 2 people gave up using Tezuka Guang because they noticed the side effects of rapid physical exertion, and there was not much increase at all. Instead, Tezuka Guang had stronger and more rigorous training. It can be said that Huang Se's starting point in realm has already surpassed many people. 3.2 But looking at it, the fire god completely lost interest. Ah, it's really boring. Yawning and watching the awkward match, Huishan really felt that if these 2 people played together, he could score 6.0. Black guy is much weaker than expected. Tearing open the snack bag and glancing at the silent Qiji, Ziyuan spoke mercilessly. I remember that guy didn't seem to have any experience with tennis, did he? Heizi's performance is also too much. Qingfeng looked at Heizi, who was completely behind, and couldn't help but wonder. Although I used to see Heizi following Qiji and Baijin often before, they seemed to have no disdain for either of them. He thought Heizi had several brushes. But in reality, he only realized that he was overthinking after fighting against Blackie. It wasn't until today that he saw Blackie facing such a fate as a beginner, and it was a bit inappropriate to go to Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Lvjian pushed his glasses, but did not fall into trouble. Although he had not had much contact with Qiji and Baijin, he also knew their personalities. If Blackie really had no value, he wouldn't have been able to stay in this tennis department long ago. End. Ryota Huang. Victory 6.3. As a referee, Tao Jing declared this match. Okay. I'll take it easy. Can this be considered the first victory? Although he didn't feel that the opponent was very strong, Huang Se happily waved his arms and said happily. Yeah, can we still fight? But surprisingly, Qiji asked Heizi, but his expression remained unchanged. Although he lost to Huang Se, Heizi didn't pay much attention, and he was also very clear that his strengths were not in singles. Doubles is where he really should go. He needs light. Take a break. Wait a moment, Baijin and Zhou will also play doubles with Huishan and Qingfeng. Qiji knew it was time for these people to understand Heizi's true strength. Previously, due to the untimely timing, he did not deliberately arrange doubles, but now it is different. The arrival of Huang Se seems to be able to make up for their last block. Qiji had already faintly sensed the unique potential of Huang Se. Since that's the case, it's time to carefully sort it out. It's time for everyone to know some details and bring their team members closer together. I believe that through this experience of doubles, the newly formed Guang tennis department has truly been established.